The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondel. So excited to have tonight's guest. Besides being a really great guy, you've seen him in TV shows such as Purgatory, the long-running soap opera on NBC, Days of Our Lives. You've also seen him in movies Being Rose, Texas Heart, American Cowslip, and Break Even, among many, many, many more. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Erik Fellows. Erik, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you on. You know, Erik, all the different various roles that you played, both on TV and film, you worked with different, directors over that period of time. You know, how do you align yourself with the director that you're working with? I mean, obviously, they're all going to have different personalities that you have to get used to. So how do you, as an actor, align yourself with the director that you're working with for each project?
Well, it's an interesting question. Well, like you said, everyone's different.
Right.
Everyone's perspective on this business and how they prepare for things are different. You know, their whole outlook on how they, the concept of even going into making a film. I've over the years, I've just learned different tactics. I wouldn't say tactics, but learning curves of how to get to know people, especially from the beginning. And if you haven't worked with them before, getting just to kind of know them personally and seeing like the do's and the don'ts of what they do like and what they don't like, and what you can compromise on. And I'm fully about wanting to engulf into the character as much as I possibly can. But I love to be able to work with the director and discuss their thoughts on it. Yeah. And being able to compromise on what I feel might work well and what they might, and kind of it's like a give or take sort of thing, and kind of just build a friendship from the beginning. I try not to go in just with one set-minded sort of perspective on things, because I think that's a little bit, I wouldn't say egotistical for an actor to walk in and do that, or even a director to come in and say, listen, this is exactly how it should be. Because I think learning in the moment is the number one key to making any sort of project blossom. I'm all about like living in the moment and bringing the truth as much as possible. And everyone that I've worked with over the years, it's always come down to just kind of like feeling each other out. You know what I mean? We're going to have differences at times, but in the end, I think if you both have the same goal in mind, that you'll achieve it, deliver the best project possible. Right.
Erik, as an actor, have you ever had that moment where you're delivering your lines and you want to maybe improv a little bit, or maybe you have an idea that you feel is going to be good for that scene or right for that scene? Have you ever talked to a director and said, hey, can we try something different here to see if it works?
Oh, yeah. I actually do that quite a bit. Early on, not so much. I think I was a little bit more scared to take that chance. But as time has went on and more experience and working with some of the people that I've worked with, a lot of it's confidence, man. Going in there, again, you have to go in there with an open mind. Yep. And really just researching and being smart about your choices. So I think, I definitely like to improv, to go off book. I go off book as much as possible, but I also like to go off path a little bit sometimes to bring it back to seeing what we get out of it.
Sure.
So, I've had some differences with people over the years, but in the end, it's funny because we end up coming to a compromise, and they're glad I took that chance. I did it a lot in my last series, Purgatory. They kind of gave me free range to kind of run with it, and it worked out in my favor. So, it was a very interesting character to play. It was very insanely crazy. I felt as though it was necessary for me to kind of go off on a little bit of a different path than maybe how it was written to kind of like achieve what I wanted from this character. So, yeah, I do it. I definitely do it for sure.
So Purgatory, which you just mentioned, in that series you played an ex-con. So how did you get in that space mentally? How did you prepare for that role?
Well, I don't know how you actually get prepared for a role like that, because unless you're an absolute psychopath in general in real life, I don't know if there's a way to prepare for it. Again, I kind of went into it with an open mind.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did. I actually researched a lot of Ted Bundy, because the way the character was written was there was no real redemption for this character. Right. The things that he was doing and how he was treating his, I would say, hostages or whatever you want to call it, who he kept captive in this show, and kind of isolated them and kind of took advantage of the situations and the moments that he had. It was written in a way of being very, very abusive and very, very controlling. But I found the sensitivity and the vulnerability to the character that would make the audience kind of empathize with him as much as possible. And I researched Ted Bundy because I was like, okay, what type of character over the years that has, done awful acts like this that people were still intrigued by, and women were lining up and still wanting to like marry this man. Men were intrigued by him, like they wanted to be him in odd ways. So I tried to find a little bit of that perspective in Bobby. And I knew to entertain an audience and have an audience still like, empathize with you or be captivated by you, have to find a charm in this type of person.
Yeah.
Everyone has a piece of humanity. I mean, even no matter how neurotically insane they are, they're still human. There's reasons why people do what they do. It doesn't make that it's the right choices to do those things in life. But I think I found kind of an even keel way to make Bobby human. Same time, like, he came from a very dark past and an awful upbringing that kind of like made him resent life in a sort of way, but also wanted to find, he once wanted to be loved. He was like a child, you know what I mean? So I think I found a middle ground to kind of show the audience that he was not just such an awful, awful human being, that there are sides to them they could side with. Right.
And as an actor, Erik, when you're on set with, people that have been around forever, like, Sybil Shepherd and James Brolin, Pam Grier, and others, when you walk onto a set like that with so much, experience in the field of acting, I mean, do you feel like when you're on that set, do you feel like, a student of acting, you're still taking things away from your co-stars where you're still learning?
Well, initially, the first time I'd ever worked with anyone kind of at that level, when I'd done American Cowslip, I worked with a crazy, like, iconic, legendary cast. Val Kilmer being one of them.
Sure.
And Peter Falk, Rip Torn.
Yep.
Diane Ladd, Cloris Leachman. It was Blake Clark. There was so many people that I'd seen in films over the years and also came up watching, and just iconic people. So, working, I think the first time I worked with Val Kilmer, I was extremely starstruck at the time. Speaking, I just went and saw Top Gun Maverick and seeing Val Kilmer and that. Yeah. And, I actually walked out of there going, I'm so happy and just grateful that I had even a chance to work with this man. So at this point, I go into it kind of wanting to offer whatever I've adapted over the years, working beside some of these big stars that help me get to where I'm at. But I do, learn. I watch these people that I've looked up to over the years in films. That's kind of how I learned anyway, is watching the people that I, were intrigued by, that I thought were really talented and, sort of like, they had this artistic way of performing and made them different. But no, each time is a learning experience for me. And even from newer actors. I mean, look, we're all, again, acting is just living in me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I can learn as much from a new actor than I can from someone who's been, won Oscars. But I really try to learn as much as I can and also offer as much as I can when working with anyone. But yeah, no, I've definitely, like a kid, going on to these sets, and especially if I get to work with someone like a Val Kilmer or Sybil Shepherd, James Brolin, and growing up watching them as a kid, it's kind of surreal still when you get the chance to work with these people. And now that I'm friends with some of them and, working now in future films coming up, it's just crazy that I get to cast them now in films that I'm doing or producing or starring in again.
Wow, that's amazing. That really is amazing. How careers evolve like that. And when did you want to become an actor, Erik? I mean, when did you get that bug to want to be in front of the camera or on stage?
I never wanted to be an actor. I can't say that. I can't say that I never wanted to be an actor. It wasn't something I really thought about. I will say that when I was younger, I was enticed by films. I early on, I remember watching, from early ages of, 5 and 6 years old. I mean, I grew up watching, Stand By Me is my favorite movie.
Oh yeah.
Goonies, Weekend at Bernie's, all these films. I was a huge fan of Pretty Woman. I understood the relationship between the two very young, which a 10-year-old boy doesn't really care about things like that. I played basketball as a young kid throughout in the high school. And that was actually my original plan in life, was to play basketball. And I was going to play professionally in Italy.
Wow.
I got injured my senior year. and it kind of diverted me into a different path. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I guess at the age of 18, I was introduced to a modeling agent in Washington, D.C., Baltimore area. Ended up starting to do some kind of local modeling. And then I ended up moving to New York and giving it a shot modeling in New York. And in high school, actually, I was taking a drama class when I was on the basketball team. And in my high school in Maryland, drama and sports didn't really coincide. It was, what I mean? Like you're the sports people or you're the I remember reading some Shakespeare stuff in drama class, and I was like, I'm not reading this. This is what is this? And I remember I like walked out. I'm like, I ended up dropping that class. And it's funny because, but I was always intrigued by movies, and I knew a lot about actors in general. For some reason, I was really intrigued by it. So it's funny how later in life it kind of did a full, 180 back into this career that I never thought I would even have. Now it's been 20 years.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. It's a lot of people, I think, maybe have plans to do something. Most of us do, I think. And sometimes we pivot to doing different things, and we become successful at those things that we, never thought we would ever do. In the case of yourself, being so successful, your work is amazing, Erik. And, one of the pieces of work that I wanted to ask you about was being on Days of Our Lives. Soap operas have always intrigued me and how they actually work behind the scenes. I assume that there's long work days, ever-changing, scripts to, kind of accommodate storylines and so forth. So what was it like working on a soap opera? Initially nerve-wracking. I don't know if I ever really wanted to be on a daytime soap. I'd auditioned for things for a few years, and I remember saying to myself, I don't know if I want to go that avenue, but I always hear how vigorous the days were. I knew a lot of people that were on soaps. And I remember I had tested for a soap when I had moved to LA, but it was to go back to New York. And I loved living in New York, but it was just, it was cool that I moved to LA. I was like, New York is a grind, man. And I'm cool to go back. I'm cool to work there. But at this particular time, I had moved to LA after September 11th. I was cool. I was happy in LA. And I didn't want to go back to New York. So I really I wasn't super excited to go and not that I wasn't grateful for an opportunity for being on a soap. It just wasn't my number one option at that time. And then I remember a week later, I auditioned for Days of Our Lives, and I got it. It was in LA. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go do this. And I had long hair at the time. I looked kind of ridiculous. And I quickly realized they weren't joking. You get one take. And that's it.
You get one take on these soaps. Look, in the 2.5 to 3 years I was on the show, I think I maybe messed up twice, meaning because we're so nervous to mess up, even if you fumble a line, they kind of just keep it. Really?
It's almost like doing live theater without the audience, right?
And even the stage setup, how they shoot it, 4-camera setup, and it's nerve-wracking, man. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'll tell you what, it's an amazing training base, and the confidence it instills in you as an actor. Just I always wanted to make sure I never allowed that just to take over me and my ability as an actor to kind of venture outside of that sort of realm of acting, because there is a style to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's a style to it, a delivery to it. A lot of those actors are amazing actors, but there is a pace to the shows. And when you try to outdo that, it doesn't really work. But no, it was nerve-wracking. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. If you got through your lines, you're like, thank you, God. Each time, because you're like, dude, they'll replace you in a second, man. If you can't keep up.
Wow, that's crazy.
I'm not speaking for everyone, but it's look, you can't go in there and you don't get 10 takes.
You can't break character, right?
Yeah, no. Or a movie where you get 20 takes. It's stressful, but it's also builds a confidence, like I said, inside you that kind of sets the tone for you and your moving forward in your career. And that I think that if people didn't have the opportunity to do it, if they do ever get an opportunity, I would say definitely do it, because people think that the stigma on this and that, just as long as you know yourself, the true you, and what you can bring to the table, then you can do all kinds of different, acting and TV, primetime soaps. A lot of primetime is soaps too. It just depends on the genre of what show you're in. Correct. So, film is very different. But it all comes into play regardless. Confidence is the number one key. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely grateful for my stint on Days of Our Lives for sure.
Right. Do you have a crazy audition story?
Yeah.
What's your craziest?
Oh God, I have a handful, man. I can't remember the name of the show now, but it was like, I would say, I don't even know, man. Probably 6-7 years ago, I auditioned for a Tyler Perry show. It was the first time I'd ever auditioned in front of Tyler Perry. And I went in there. I had worked on the scene. It wasn't too far-fetched of a character for me. He was like a very confident sort of, leading guy type of character that just carried his own weight. And I went in there, and it was in this big conference room. It was in a hotel in LA. And, I'd heard that Tyler's a nice guy, but he's intimidating. And he's a big man. But when I walked in the conference room, like, the camera was like 20 feet back, and I had to stand like this far away from it. And behind that was Tyler at a table, and then like his whole crew behind him. And I walked in, and I had everything memorized. At least I thought, well, let me tell you something. I walk in, I put my sides on a chair about 20 feet where the door is. And I stepped in the middle of the room, and he says hello, but he has my headshot, and he's kind of just flipping it over, looking at the headshot, looking at my credits. And everyone was behind him. He goes, when you're ready. So we started this scene. I knocked out the first page, had it all memorized, whatever.
Sure.
Again, I live in the moment, so I don't really take it all too serious. I'm just living it. And at this time, I've actually come a long way from that moment. But I got in my head so much. So basically, the second scene started. We went to the second scene, feeling good. Halfway down the second scene, the reader had said their lines, and I went to go deliver my lines. And I went, oh God, I blanked, because what I noticed was I saw in my peripheral, I was seeing Tyler not really looking at me. He was staring at my headshot, and I knew I feel like I didn't have his attention. So it threw me off. So I went, and then they're like, okay. And they said their line again. And I said, but, and I was like, my head, I started shaking, and I couldn't even think of my name.
No way.
So basically, it gets way worse. And
That's
then
crazy.
Kind of cool. So basically, he looks up from my headshot, and he says, with his deep voice, he's like, is there a problem? And I said, do you mind if he's like, he goes, where's your sides? And I go, and I look over, and he just looks back down, and he goes, thank you for coming in. And I go, oh God. I didn't say it out loud. They're all just quiet. So I'm thinking, okay, I worked really hard on this scene.
Right.
Oh, it seemed like I was being a little cocky and arrogant. I worked really hard on it. I said, Mr. Perry, do you mind if I was like stuttering? Do you mind if I go get he goes, I said, thank you very much for coming in. Have a nice day. I've seen enough. And I go, I didn't know what to do, man. Right. I was like in the middle of the freaking conference room. Everyone's staring at me quiet. And he's just so intimidating. It wasn't even like he was being mean. I just was in shock.
Yeah. Sometimes when they're quiet, it's more intimidating because you don't know what they're thinking.
Of course. Then I proceed to walk towards the door, and I go, Mr. Perry. And he goes, yes, Mr. Fellows. And I said, do you mind if I go again? And he goes, I said, thank you for coming in. Have a nice day. So I go to grab my sides, and I wouldn't stop, man. I said, and I walked back. I said, Mr. Perry, please, I worked really hard on this. He goes, oh, did you really? Yeah. You worked so hard on it that you thought that leaving your sides across the room was a smart idea? And I said, he goes, and he just looked at me. He was silent. I said, I would really like to finish this. And he goes, I said, have a nice day. And I go, I didn't know what to do, man. It was like one of the most shocking moments. So I literally said, I said, Mr. Perry, I'm going to finish the scene. And he looked at me, and he goes, huh. And he started laughing. He goes, this is what he said. He goes, you're lucky you're talented, man, because that is irresponsible of you. He goes, get back over there and finish the scene then. You want to finish the scene? Finish the scene.
You had your sides with you this time.
So I brought my sides, but get this. I was so scared. Yeah. Even with the sides now, they're all just staring at me. My hands are like this. And he goes, what's the issue? You have your sides. And I looked at him. He goes, just do it. And I go, I throw the sides down on the ground. Wow. And I started going through it. He goes, God. He looked at me, started laughing. He goes, you're unbelievable. Started doing it. And he goes, Erik, why are you nervous? And I said, you know what? And I said like this. I was like, F it. I said, let's go. I went through it. I did the scene. And he goes, all right, get out of here. And I left. I'm like, dude, he's never going to see me again. Anyway, I got a call from my agent. I didn't tell him. He goes, oh, I don't know what you did. You got a pin in you. You're on hold. I go, what? And I told him the whole story. He's like, Erik, don't ever do that again. Wow. I didn't end up getting it. It was between me and another guy for a while. But you know what, man? If I would have quit, if I would have given up on something on my moment, even though I'm the one who was in the wrong, I learned that, well, first of all, quitting doesn't get you anywhere. I can promise you that. It's easy to quit. I'm a fighter, and I wasn't willing to back down. Regardless, buddy, if you would ever see me again or not, I wasn't willing to back down. I mean, I would say that's one of those scarier moments. I mean, I've had some crazy, funny, weird moments, or just things that you're like, you know, you got this and you're just blank, dude. It happens to the best of them. So that was probably one of the more interesting ones, I would say.
Wow. You know, for everybody listening right now, that's an amazing story of determination and just not giving up. You know, no matter who's sitting at that table, you know, you had the determination and the confidence to carry on and complete what you set out to do. And you had the confidence to tell Tyler Perry that you're going to finish that scene, and he let you do it, right? So
yeah, I'm grateful for that, because ever since, you know, in each project, each time I get a chance to work, you know, on projects that are, you know, I'm passionate for, whatever, I learn something new every time. And my fear, I don't have fear of any of it. What do we really fear for? To get approval? I mean, at the end of the day, man, you work to work hard to accomplish your goals and your passion for something that you really have put so much time and effort into. Allowing people to be the judgment on that, and again, that is what we're there for. We're so worried about what they think of us and how well we're going to do. But really, what they want to see you do is just go in there, give it your best efforts, and be you, and bring the best you can to it, and the most authentic you can to a character. And that's all, and I've learned that over the years. If anything, I'm excited to go in or whatever. I mean, auditioning is not an easy process, man. You know what I mean? You're going to get nervous. I don't care who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. Some of your better actors in the world aren't great auditioners. It's what you bring to the table when you're there.
And if you're not nervous, then something's wrong, right?
It brings the authenticity to it, man. And in life, like, we don't know I didn't know what we're going to talk about today exactly. So I'm answering these questions as truthful as I possibly can. If and there's times you pre-plan things or whatever, but I really believe you don't know what the next person's going to ask you or do, or how they're going to say something. So how do you know how you're going to react? You know what I mean? Like, you don't know situations before they happen. This is life. I've really had to make myself aware of that and not be scared of those moments, because that's the moments that we all live for.
Yeah, that's well said, Erik. As you know, I mean, this business can be unforgiving, and there's a lot of actors out there that hear a lot of no's. Obviously, every actor hears more no's than they hear yeses, but there's a lot of actors out there that are so close to either getting that break or getting that one yes that they're waiting for, yet they're so close to walking away. And what advice can you give that actor that's so close to realizing their dream, yet they're about to walk away from the craft that they love so much?
I would say that, let me tell you something. I mean, over the last 20 years, as many times as I've been down or been, felt like my life, what's happening here? Why me? Why can't I get it? Like, if I would have, taken each moment when I was ready to give up, if I would have walked away, I wouldn't even be in the position I'm in now. I had to take all those no's to get that yes. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, unfortunately, in life, you don't know what you're going to be dealt. You know what I mean? All of us, just when things get tough, walk away because they think that, hey, it's just not going to happen. Then you will cut yourself short. I think that there is, when I say there's luck involved, I mean, I think you position yourself for this luck. You know what I mean? I mean, is it a lottery? Is it this? It's a numbers game. It is a numbers game. I mean, and each year it keeps getting more and more oversaturated with everyone and all the outlets and types of media. Reality TV changed a lot of the game years ago, and we're trying to all kind of filtrate through that and figure this all out. But there are a lot of opportunities. I think all the platforms that have come out have given people opportunities to show their talents more than ever. The business has changed. The business model has changed. But I mean, I would tell anyone, man, number one thing is you have to believe in yourself more than anyone who's watching you, because they'll know. People know. They want to look up to you, man. They want to learn from you. Steven Spielberg wants to hire someone that he actually wants to look up to and learn something from too. You know what I mean? So if you've gotten yourself to this position and you've been fighting this hard, and you keep getting those no's, I would say if you're not 150% sure that 200, 1 billion% positive this is what you want to do, then maybe it isn't the business for you. That's how much effort it takes 24/7, that you have to wake up knowing that you're enough. So, I mean, look, it's not easy. I get told no all the time. I had to work. I mean, a lot of things came easier to me at times, but then I've been humbled many times. I've had to learn from that. I had to pick myself back up and I had to keep going. So I would say quitting is easy, man. You know, but sticking with it's the hard part. But I promise, if you believe in yourself that much and you've got innate talent for it, you're willing to learn and keep fighting and getting better. You know, an actor isn't someone that's just like plateaus of like their talent. You're learning new things every day. You're the best now ever. Yeah, maybe the opportunities were at one point the pinnacle point, but it doesn't mean you're gonna like just plateau of how you perform. These are choices that we make. So I would say giving up is never a great choice, but sometimes, you know, if you have lost the passion for it, if it's something that you feel as though you're not fully 2 feet in, you know, fully invested, then maybe you do need to rethink. But if your passion is there, don't let those no's take away your dream, man, because if that was the case, I would have walked away a long time ago.
Yeah, that's great advice, Erik. Thank you for that. Erik, now, if there's one dream role out there that you've always wanted to play, what would that role be?
I've been asked this question a lot. To be honest with you, I just like to try different characters out at this point. I mean, you know, because coming from the soap world and kind of getting that stereotype or cast type as like sort of, you know, the leading guy. I mean, I've gotten to play a lot of sort of edgier characters because my look a little bit like I'm still like the leading guy. Could be, you know, Dave, make me look like the guy next door, but also have a look that where I could play the nemesis. And I like playing a lot of those roles. I kind of like playing the bad boy, but I play the bad boy quite a bit. I don't play the good guy that often. I played a good guy in a few things, but it always seems like there's this edge. I don't know, man. I mean, I've done a lot of dark comedy. I have a couple of really cool films coming out from the comedy perspective. I got to kind of play like my movie that's coming out soon. It's been in the makings for a while, and it got postponed multiple times. It's a movie about Hollywood called Starfucker, and it literally is. It's a crazy film, man. It's a dark comedy drama all in one. He's Jimmy Starr. He's kind of the quintessential actor who's on this downward spiral in Hollywood, on his way to try to do whatever he takes to make it. And we really didn't hold back. You know, he kind of like follows his life and what he's the trials and tribulations of an actor in Hollywood, and a lot of things I've actually experienced. So playing the role wasn't extremely far-fetched, but it was surreal to be reliving moments on screen that you've been through, like to that depth of an understanding. Like, you know, we've screened it a few times and people are like, I can't tell if I'm watching you or if I'm watching Jimmy Starr. Be able to play out a movie within your own life, what you would think is like, oh, that should be simple. And it didn't come very hard to me. I kind of just did. But when I'm watching it, it's surreal to watch because he is different than me. But he's a lot like me.
He's different yet the same. He's probably going through the same thing you went through.
I think I've been through even worse.
Yeah,
it's pretty severe. But it'll be coming out on Tubi in the following months. We don't have a release date yet, so it'll be coming out soon. And I have a really cool movie coming out called Divorce Bait. Samuel Goodwin Films picked it up. Goldwyn picked it up. Samuel Goldwyn, sorry, Goodwin. So it got a theatrical deal. It'll be coming out in the fall. Really cool, raunchy dark comedy, rom-com. Really quirky, cool character in that film as well. So to say like what character, you know, probably maybe like someone who like maybe like sort of like, I mean, I played a sociopath. I played, you know, maybe sort of like a Dexter character, a twisted sort of like charming, sort of like manipulative, but like serial killer, but also, but again, it's sort of similar to something I played, but not fully. I don't know. Maybe someone of being a character with some sort of disability, it would challenge me. You know, you have to be fearless, man. You really do. You can't worry about what the next person is going to say. Those are things that's hard to let go as an actor. I mean, some of your best actors out there still fall into that pattern of worrying about, you really have to let go of all ambition. You really can't be fearful of that stuff. And it's easy for me to say this because it's like, you put in that moment. But I have really learned to not care, as much as I possibly cannot care about what the next person's going to say and just be. But that, someone with a disability, I think would be challenging. I would be intrigued to take it on.
Erik, before we leave, I just want to ask you this question. What do you want your legacy to be when it's all said and done, years down the road? What do you want people to walk away with when they think of Erik Fellows?
Kind of everything I really kind of said. Just someone that this wasn't the course of my life that I thought I was going to have. There doesn't always have to be an answer for things. I think I would like to be remembered for someone who gave it his all. Right. I've been humbled a billion times. I would like to be, I would like my legacy to be left that I was trying to be the best human I could possibly be and care as much as I could. And someone that could entertain them and make them laugh and also scare them at the same time, but also just be a cool person. I don't know. I'm all about being a good person these days, man. Not that I was ever a bad person, but you have to go through things to learn. I like to be remembered someone that was entertaining and someone that say that was a good guy. You know what I mean? Like that's someone I just get. I fight as much as I can and fight as hard as I can every day of my life. Someone that someone that never quit and just really pushed as hard as he could, and wherever it goes, it goes. So just, I would say a nice guy that was willing to fight to the end. Well,
Erik, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much for being so open about your experiences as an actor. I think those will definitely help our listeners, get to that next level, or at least have that inspiration to do so. And also, best of luck to you and all your projects that you're working on right now. And you're always welcome on the show at any time, Erik. So again, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, man. I had a great time, and I really appreciate the questions. Actually, they were all very cool.
Thank you so much, Erik.